Hi everybody, welcome to Films Against Humanity. This is Chase.
And Nick.
And Adam.
And Kendall.
And we just watched Pulgasari from 1985.
Yes, Pulgasari!
So Nick, this was your suggestion. You knew about this film, so can you give us a little history and background on the film?
Oh yes, it's been one of my white whales, holy grail type cult schlock underground movies that I'd always wanted to see. I never knew the name of it, but I'd heard rumors of a Kim Jong Il produced, Kim Jong Il made movie, and I was like, well, whatever that is, I have to find it sometime in my life. And sure enough, it didn't really take that long. And it's just the backstory alone about he kidnaps the South Korean equivalent of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, the director's name Shin Sang-ok, or Ook, I don't know how you pronounce it.
But he kidnaps him to make his own kaiju movie because he was a huge Godzilla fan. And this I've heard. I'm not really sure if he created the idea of Pulgasari because he had always thought that North Korea needed its own grand national myth, just like all their countries have. And so if he made this one up for the movie, or if he just took an old national myth and gave it its own movie. But either way, he makes Pulgasari, and it's awesome. Like, if it was a just straight Godzilla movie, it would be in my top 5. Like, it's really well done. And it's the best of the, I don't know what you would say, like, tyrannical leader / evil empire or group funded features. It's got to be the best.
This is the first one that I've seen.
Oddly enough, Kenpachiro Satsuma, who was the Toho Godzilla for the 80s and the 90s, and gets him to play Pulgasari in an amazing suit, in a really awesome, well-done suit. And there's a quote from Satsuma when the 98 American Zilla movie came out, and he said he preferred Pulgasari to the American version of Godzilla.
I'm sure
because Pulgasari wasn't actually released outside of North Korea until 1998, so it was actually in the same theaters in Japan when
so it was extremely
Godzilla
relevant.
Came out.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
So that is why he would comment on that one, compare those two together.
Wow.
Which is pretty nuts. So you want to go into a little more history on this director? I looked him up a little bit. Shin Sang-ok. So he has really established himself in the 50s and 60s as a good Korean director, and his wife, who had just recently divorced, was in Hong Kong, and she was a famous actress, and she got kidnapped first. He went to investigate, and the North Koreans came and kidnapped him too. He was unwilling to make films when he first got there, so he was put in a prison camp for 5 years until he just was released, and they decided to make movies. And Kim Jong Il decided that they should be back together, so he made him marry his wife again, and they stayed married until his death.
See,
and
not
then
so bad.
And then up until
open relationships
until they went to the Austrian Film Festival and were able to escape and get asylum in America.
What I always heard was that that there's an original version that he filmed that Kim Jong Il found not pleasing. He didn't like it, and that he sentenced him to be executed, and then they reshot it, and he showed it to him again, and he was like, okay, all right.
Never mind.
I like this one. You can live now. And then kept him around to do other stuff.
You guys want to guess what movies, franchises he worked on and directed? So he made a sequel to a 90s movie that we've all seen. You guys want to guess?
A 90s movie we've all seen?
90s kids movie.
Oh.
A 90s kids movie.
Homeward Bound 2?
Think Asian.
Oh.
Sort of.
Three Ninjas?
Three Ninjas.
No.
Yes.
Fucking
he didn't.
way.
Yeah. He did Three Ninjas Knuckle Up. He directed that, and he produced Kickback and High Noon and Mega Mountain.
Hey kids, what video did you buy?
Three Ninjas Kickback! Yeah!
I hear it's pretty cool.
And
jam!
Well, if you like the Three Ninjas, you're gonna love the new Three Ninjas Knuckle Up.
When they help out the Native Americans, right?
I hope
it's like
so.
where they got all 3 of the kids to return for it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
that
like the one that I like the most probably of all
man.
of them.
I don't think I've seen that one. I think I've only seen the first one.
You never saw Kickback or High Noon and Mega Mountain
No,
too?
I've definitely never
Man.
I've
seen
seen
Mega Mountain.
Kickback. I never
dude,
saw
the Mega Mountain one, guys. He just produced that one, but that is solid. Hulk Hogan, isn't it? And
I thought that was
man.
They're power-pack partners, pumping with pure energy. Want a piece of me? Come and get it.
Okay, so Pulgasari, the new North Korean grand national myth about how awesome it is and how it's built on a foundation of righteousness is... I like your theory on that, because I just thought it was an old world myth about tyrannical power overtaking the proletariat and taking the farm tools away from farmers and building up war machines, and that's bad, and people starve and just fight forever. But you thought it was...
The whole movie is these peasants rising up against an evil tyrant.
Right.
And you would think, I mean, it's a little... The message is a little mixed and muddled there, so it could easily be construed as like, they're the evil tyrants, Kim Jong Il, who's kidnapping people to make these movies.
Right.
So I think that's possibly why it didn't get a bigger release after it, because it didn't have very clear of a message. But I decided, watching it, that it was sort of like Pulgasari was capitalism, was like America coming in and helping, the Koreans win the war, like the Korean War, and then just staying and, and still occupying the country and still wanting more and more.
Right. Well, so either that or just capitalism in general.
Yeah.
That Pulgasari's capitalism in general that seems good on paper and is awesome and will help you get what you want and feel good, but it'll keep taking more.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that he just
nothing
consumes
left.
iron like the whole time. He just eats iron, and that just speaks of industrialization. It's just like bleeding with industrialization, and then he dissolves.
He explodes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, whatever. He fades from it.
Yeah.
He fades from consciousness.
All right. So what do we want to just go into?
Well, I don't know if we need to go like through the whole plot, but like the first half, it's like two different, not completely two different movies, but the first half is kind of a kid, like once you get the message out of the way, and Pulgasari shows up when as a rice ball, in a really well formed. Molded rice ball like the old man does. But it's like a kid's film because when he's first alive and he's like 3 inches tall and
he's so fucking cute.
And they play kids like Disney music, like Honey I Shrunk the Kids music in the background. And he's eating needles.
Yeah, he starts off small. He just eats the little bitty needles and then he gets bigger and he needs more.
Slowly. And he's still a little baby basically, like wanting food all
he
the
was
time.
playing in the river and splashing them. Oh, I want one.
But he's like a golem. The old man's in prison and makes a rice ball out of him and then dies, and I guess his soul goes in there, and then his daughter pricks her finger and the blood goes on it, and instantly he turns into a sentient being.
Yes, instantly, yeah.
Like Barney.
Like Barney.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's still pretty family friendly and kind of hijinky, or gets into hijinks more than anything, until they go to free the nephew. He drops in and they're like, "Oh, what is this?" And the guy gets a chance to get away, and then he starts eating the assassin's sword. He eats the assassin's sword, and they're like, "Oh, that's crazy! Look, he's eating metal." And then he tries to attack him, and Pulgasari eats his fucking face. And then shit gets real from that point on.
It's like a hand puppet
drawing
at a face.
Yeah, like Pulgasari loses his innocence there as well. And
yeah, that's true. He stopped being cute from that point on.
Mm-hmm. And then he just keeps growing like Honey, We Blew Up the Kid. He just keeps growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger, and helping them win the war. Yeah,
helping them win a war against the evil king.
Yep.
And his kind of cool super weapons that he has that they think are going to kill Pulgasari, even though they try like 8 different master plans.
They keep trying all these Looney Tune traps on how to capture him.
Some of it might have had Acme written on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, totally.
And in fact, all the traps work, but
They
then
do
he
work,
just
yeah.
survives them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like with the first big one, when they trap him in the giant cage
Yeah.
and they burn it. It's a really long scene of him just burning alive, and you're
I
like,
felt
oh,
really sorry for him. It was
No,
kind
that's-
of dramatic.
It's like Godzilla too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the only way to really destroy Godzilla is to just trap him somewhere, right? Like every time, because that's why he always rises up. And yeah,
Well, when they dig the giant pit, and I thought they were just gonna burn him or whatever. I was like, because it's 1985. I was like, that's what they did at the end of Godzilla 1985, is drop him in the bottom of a volcano, because you can't destroy him. He's a force of nature. You can just hold him in there.
Yeah, and they bury him. There's some great battle scenes. It's a lot of extras. I mean, and apparently it was the North Korean army that they got to be extras in the film, and it's pretty good.
Some of those fight scenes looked pretty real.
Yeah, people died.
Like people really,
I'm calling
they
it
should
now.
have died.
Extras were dying. in
Chase
this
says
movie.
extras died during the filming of it.
No, it really looked like they could have. I mean, the explosions were really close to where people were standing.
Yeah, the special effects are good. I mean,
Yeah.
solid at the time and still pretty solid. I mean, the rear screen projection looked pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that, the shots were pretty great. You
Yeah,
know,
it was
they-
Isn't
huge fight
Yeah.
scenes,
Typical
lots
of
of
a Godzilla
extras.
movie, though, is to have the back screen just
yeah,
like
the rear
that.
screen stuff is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, on a budget and before CGI, it's the only real way you could get away with it, unless you start tearing into your celluloid itself. But yeah, let's talk about the production value for a second, like of the whole thing. Like, yeah, pretty impressive, like on the
Yeah.
whole.
But then again, if we really look at it, like if you have the treasury of an entire country at your disposal, and you have the ability and not the moral questioning of kidnapping people to make your movie, it should come out looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And it does. Like he did that.
I mean, it's a period piece, and all the costuming's there.
Yeah.
All the sets and the design, and him himself, Pulgasari as the monster, looks pretty good. I mean, you know, obviously it's a man in a suit, but it looks like a good Godzilla.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
you
good
can't
job.
see the zipper, so
Yeah. Good
Already.
costume, yeah.
already.
And when
right
they
there.
when they shoot rockets at him, and they even had the ping sound, and you could tell that they carved on the film for the sparks coming off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they paid attention.
Yep.
And then in the last scene, when they invent cannons, I guess.
Yeah.
they do the Death Star shot that we were talking about and shoot it directly into his mouth, but he learns how to just shoot them back out of his mouth.
Yeah, it slows him down. Just like they shoot a rocket into his eye during one point, and that slows
Bloody.
him down. Yeah, that was really bloody, but he pulls through. He keeps fighting on.
Yeah, the blood coming out of his eye, that was really cool. I really liked that. I thought it was really interesting.
So, I just looked up kind of what they say the budget is on this movie.
Wow.
Do we want to do this where we go around and kind of guess on this? This is what they said they gave him. They gave him the budget on each of the 7 movies that Shin made for North Korea. So I'm guessing this was one of them. So it might have been a little bit higher than this.
I'm gonna say 10 million.
5.
Oh, you took mine. I was gonna say 5. I'll go even lower. I'll just say 1.
3 million.
Ah,
You guys met in the
alright.
middle there.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I bet 3 million. They used it well.
Yeah, they
Better
totally
than the
used
other
it
They
three.
had a
well.
lot of. I mean, they didn't. Did they pay any of these people?
Probably
to
not.
be in
That's
this
true.
movie?
I'm sure they didn't pay. Well, maybe the director.
Yeah,
know.
no, some of the talent, like the Japanese talent that they flew in, I'm sure
Yeah.
the guy that
Yeah.
played the creature was definitely paid for sure.
They had
but
to pay the studio.
but in
Yeah.
terms of like extras and whatnot, though, I mean, some of those background shots are huge, and that looks like at least 1,000 people, and I'm sure Kim Jong was probably able to make it so that they didn't really need to get paid, at least not in that way.
I'm
Oh,
sure they were just excited to be in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You
Not
know?
many movies had come out in North Korea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's,
And
yeah.
and even though this is the only one that's really made it over here, I'm also pretty sure it's the biggest. That it was the opus for the country, or for him for sure, but for them as well.
what did you guys think of the movie overall? Would you guys recommend it?
Chase, go first.
So, I would be really interested. He made 7 films before he escaped from North Korea. I'd be really interested to see the other ones. Apparently, one of the movies is the first North Korean on-screen kiss. So yeah, I'd say if you like this type of film, this is a better than most Godzilla ripoffs. Nick?
Yeah, I totally agree. As far as kaiju films go, it's in the top 10 ever. It's about 15 minutes too long.
Yeah.
But that's really the only knock I really have on it. Like, it's... So of all the evil entity propaganda films that got made, you had Kim Jong Il's Pulgasari, you got OM, the LSD cult from Japan that sarin gassed the Tokyo subway stations in the mid-90s. They made a 2-minute anime short that's...
Looks pretty good.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He's flying over the city, dropping poison spores, and then smiling and flying off to the higher plane of existence. He does a little ha ha ha, like Big Eyes, Speed Racer kind of deal. So you got that. The new number one, Hamas, is bankrolled Valley of the Wolves, Iraq, Valley of the Wolves, Palestine, starring Billy Zane, which is an amazing story unto itself, where he just took a paycheck and then went and shot a movie and didn't pay attention to anything that was going on.
Wow.
Much less the fact that every scene is us as U.S. soldiers shooting Palestinians with like swinging Israeli flags behind us, and he never thought to say, I think we might, is this right? I don't know if this is okay. He just took a check for $2.5 million and said whatever. So that's the new number one. Yeah, of everything, it's the best and it's the most successful, and there's a reason why. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know how to sell that, but there you go. All right.
That was interesting. Yes, I as well enjoyed it, very much so. As far as kaiju movies go, yeah, it was good. It was cool. Like, I think you both hit it pretty spot on. And yeah, I would say the only thing that I really want to stress is I think it's just a very important film for history. You know, historically, I think this is an important film and it should be archived. I hope it is. I mean, I'm glad that we're able to obtain copies, but I mean, for a country that we see so few of their work of anything at all, you know, it was cool to see like this monster movie, and you know, you start to see this whole other side to Kim Jong Il, but with his love for movies. But the hypocrisy of it just like astounds me. It just blows my mind to think, you know, about the feast that they were having at the premiere while the movie is, you know, they're starving at the beginning. And, you know, was it the director, like, you know, was it his choice to make it to, was this his way of fighting Kim Jong while he was imprisoned, you know, by him? Was this like, was he trying to subdue him in his own way, or, you know, did he actually start to believe in it at some point? I don't know. I think the whole story is fascinating, and I think somebody should make a movie about this director and this movie.
Agree.
Oh,
and
gosh, totally.
screen that shit at the Oscars and then send North Korea a copy as well.
Because as far as the documentary goes, the wife that was kidnapped is still alive right now and is in her late 80s.
Yeah.
So that would be very cool to talk to her. So let's do it. So fund us at kickstarter.com/Pulgasari the documentary. So let's go to Kindle, and then we'll come back to that.
You can, All
right. So what'd you think, Kindle?
I had to agree with Nick that it was just a little too long. I was kind of losing interest after a while. I was like, all right, he can die any time now. Like, I'm so ready for him to die. The Pulgasari. You know, but you know what? Just everybody. I don't even care. I'm still confused about the ending. We didn't really talk about it too much. We didn't really talk too much plot because there's just so much underneath this movie that needs to be talked about. That plot kind of escapes us. Yeah. For the time being.
Takes a back seat for sure.
Yeah, and I would be so interested to know just the making of this, and I mean, because just the whole time you're thinking of it is just like what was going through this director's mind, like what was happening, and I would pay to see the documentary on this, so let's fund that Kickstarter.
Yeah, totally do that.
We talk some more about this Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So,
devoted.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Follow us at Twitter at Films Against. We're on Facebook, Films Against Humanity. Website is filmsagainsthumanity.com. And we're going to be doing all March. We're going to be doing propaganda films. The name of the month, Madness, is going to come later. But we've got this one. I think Escape from Hell will already have been out by then, which was a great Christian propaganda movie.
Right.
And that's it. So thanks a lot, everybody.
That's right. Stay tuned. Hamas Billy Zane.
Hamas Billy
Yes.
Zane. Maybe we'll do Triumph of the Will or Birth of a Nation too.
It is the centennial.
Yep. Oh shit. And this is the 30-year anniversary since this movie came out too.
Wow.
85. Interesting.